What's cracking, everybody? Felrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle content. And as we play, the game is evolving ever so much. And just to show you how much, do we get the Evolution Cup? That was a terrible joke. I'm just going to keep going. Well, I'm not doing more than one take after this. I'm done. So we're going to talk about the Evolution Cup today, coming this Thursday. That's going to be tomorrow, as of the drop of this video. And it's basically going to include every single Pokemon in our Pokedex that has evolved once and can evolve again. So right here, we've got some examples right over here. Yeah, that way. Vigoroth, Zweilous, Machoke, Hakamo, Golbat, Dragonair. Those are all Pokemon that are examples, and they're also just happen to be on the top of the meta rankings. And with good reason. They're very good. So let's go ahead and I'm going to talk through each one of these very briefly, kind of give you an overview of what exactly we can expect from these Pokemon, what their role might be in this meta, and just kind of go through. I think I got a few pages and some cores to talk about, so strap in, y'all. This is going to be a fun one. So Vigoroth is number 1 on the list. Has Body Slam and Bulldoze, takes care of literally everything that's weak to counter, and loses to things that hard resist counter and can deal with body slams, like Golbat, Machoke. Hakamo's going to be able to get to those brick breaks fast enough to make Vigoroth sweat, and Dragonair is just... Dude, Dragonair is going to be low-key so good in this meta, like, no lie. And Vigoroth is almost as perfect of a Pokemon as you can get. Like, in a meta where there's not really any, like, super solid checks to it, which I don't really think. I think Golbat might be the most solid check to Vigoroth in this whole meta, I think, and it's kind of sad. Vigoroth is going to be the absolute king. Whether you put it in the lead, or you put it in the safe swap, or you put it as a closer, Vigoroth is going to be nuts, and the entire meta is going to either be you run it or you try to counter it. That's really it. So, speaking of things that, it beats, right? Zweilous. So Zweilous is one of my new favorites to run in Great League because I finally built one, and it is so much fun to watch it roll through things like Trevenant and Sableye. But they're not in this meta, so how good is Zweilous really going to be? Well, you've got Body Slam, Dark Pulse, and you're going to still be able to roll through the ghosts in the meta, right? Haunter, Dusclops. Dragonair also cannot quite outbulk the Zweilous, and Metang and Golbat are on the list. Probably outbulks the Golbat and probably hits the Metang with a Dark Pulse, if I'm guessing. But it loses to fighting types like Machoke, the Vigoroth. Loses to Hakamo because it probably just hits it with that Brick Break right before it goes down. Celio, having that ice damage, is going to be able to take care of Zweilous. So Zweilous does have some notable counters in this meta. And speaking of Machoke, which pops in here at number 4 and 5 with the Shadow version. Machoke's not super, like, amazing, but it has Karate Chop, which is like a Powder Snow clone. It also has Cross Chop and Dynamic Punch. This thing has a basically all fighting moveset, has access to return if you have a Purified one, just terrible. But that Karate Chop fast move is going to be able to get it to a lot of charge moves, and against something like Vigoroth or Zweilous, yeah, that's going to be really handy. Like, it beats... what doesn't beat Lairon, honestly? It beats the Vigoroth, beats the Zweilous, beats the Celio, and it also can beat Dragonair pretty convincingly, being able to get to those moves nice and quickly, where it vastly outpaces quite a few Pokemon. Karate Chop into Cross Chop is just, I think it's like 4 Karate Chops to a Cross Chop. It's actually really, really fast. No, it's 5-4. It's the same as the old Icicle Spear counts. It's the same as that. Anyway, but obviously we'll lose to the things that hard beat fighting types, right? Golbat, Dusclops, Nidorino, and Nidorino also, I think Nidorino's on this list. Hakamo and Metang, like, it basically, if it can beat something with a pure fighting moveset, I mean, Machoke is very linear, let's be honest. It's strong, but it's very linear. Hakamo, being another fighting type, with a dragon, right? So, if it loses to fighting, and it can't damage the Hakamo's Dragon Tails, which is really hard to do. And let's think about it, right? Very few things in this meta are going to counter Hakamo. I think there's like literally 1, maybe 2 fairy types in this whole meta. And, I mean, what's the other thing that beats Dragon, right? Steel? Lairon gets clapped by Brick Break. So you're not going to see a whole lot of things in this meta that are going to be able to tangle with Hakamo. So I think Hakamo is going to be probably one of, if not the best safe switches in the meta, because it also beats the Vigoroth, and it beats a lot of the other things in general. But obviously you do have to be careful of the Golbat. Those wing attacks are going to do super effective damage to you, and the Poison's Fangs are going to make it add up real fast. Haunter is listed as a loss to Hakamo despite being frail, because it is going to be able to land that Ice Punch, so you have to be able to be careful of that. As we talked about in the beginning of the season, Haunter got Ice Punch as a new moveset update to its move pool, making it able to hit these dragon types quite nicely, so you will see it. It will be out there, and it's coming up. We're going to talk about it soon. So Golbat is going to be another very key player to this meta. Being number 8 is the Shadow. I think number 13, no, it's down here a little bit. 18 is the non-Shadow. So typically speaking, a Shadow Golbat's going to do you better because it's got the Wing Attack and Poison Fang moveset, which means it's going to be able to take full advantage of that Shadow boost. But something to keep in mind about Golbat is that its only other way to deal damage is via Shadow Ball, and that's assuming that you're not facing off against a normal type. If you're facing off against something like Chansey, or something super bulky that can easily deal with the Shadow Ball, then you are looking like you might have trouble. So Zweilous is going to be a good example of that. Haunter is going to be something that can take you out with the Ice Punch. Celio is going to just completely clap this thing out of the sky, and then Nidorino has Ice Beam, so that's probably why that's in here as a win. But you just have to be careful and manage your Golbat. Obviously, you know, having the Poison and Ghost typing in this moveset is helpful, but you just have to be careful with what you get swapped on against you. Golbat could probably be a good closer as well, but as a lead with the Poison Fang, it's really going to be helpful for some of those secondary matchups, being able to just drop a Poison Fang and swap out into something else after your opponent's been switch locked. Dragonair is a new player in the meta, having now able to use Body Slam and Aqua Tail, which means it's going to have a really spammy, consistent moveset. I recently built mine. I fully expect to use it in this meta. It's going to be insanely good, I feel, because, you know, the amount of damage that the Dragon Breath puts on is just pressure by itself, plus the fact that it takes 12 turns to get to either charge move. Very, very consistent damage, very consistent moveset, and I think it's going to be very good. Dusclops. You can either run it with, you know, Hex, Elemental Punch in return as a Purified, or you could run it as a Shadow. I think either way is fine. I would probably run the version with Return, because Return is a nice, you know, neutral option. Not a whole lot of things in this meta aside from the Ghosts already, and the Steel, like the 1 or 2 Steel types, resist it. But it's completely up to you and what you see in the meta. If you have a Dusclops built already, great. I'm not saying you should build one. I don't think you should. It's a lot of dust for something you're going to use once for like 1 week. But it will have its use. It will definitely have its use. So Celio is the last thing on this page, and I think I'd rather prefer to have a Shadow Celio. I already have one. I'm not going to build a regular one. But regular Celio does get a little bit of extra bulk to deal with some things, but personally I would go with the Shadow, because once again, just like we were talking about with Golbat, it has a consistent spammy moveset with a decently hitting fast move in Powder Snow, so that's going to allow you to be able to farm things down faster and more efficiently, and those Body Slams that come out every 10, every 8 turns are going to be able to hit that much harder. I think it's going to be better off as a Shadow despite the rankings. If you have one, try it. It's going to be really good. It also breaks a few cores, like the Zweilous Golbat core get broken by Celio quite nicely, so it'll be out there. Don't worry, it'll be out there. Okay, so we've got page 2, which is going to be the slightly less meta but still decent things, right? So Charge-a-Bug, number 10 on the rankings. I like Charge-a-Bug because it also is going to be able to beat up the Poison Dark core, in that it can beat the Golbat and it can also beat the Zweilous. And I think those are going to be the 2 more popular things that make up the Dark Poison core, because they're probably the more accessible ones. Not a lot of people are going to have the XL Nidorina. I do, but it's because it's a lucky and I saved on Stardust with it. And, Haunter could be something that makes up that Dark Poison core. It could also be Lanoon, but for the most part, like, Charge-a-Bug does a pretty safe job at breaking that core up, so it's not going to have it's not going to be without its merit. It's also pretty tanky, and it also loses to Vigoroth, probably can't out-damage with those Body Slams, so... Also, apparently, I need to see this. I need to see why it loses to Zweilous. Those X-Scissors just not good enough, I suppose. It's not quite going to be a loss here that is huge. The X-Scissor does like half of the health almost. the Zweilous, so you're still in a good spot. Maybe you come in with a little bit of energy. As you can see, for some reason we go down with the X scissor here, so I have a feeling that it goes down right as, I think it's, yep, right as the opponent throws their Dark Pulse. So this is a very close matchup, and it literally, you know, put Charger Bug ahead of it by energy by like 1 spark, and it could beat even the Zweilous in the ones. So like I said, not a bad way to break up that core. I think it's going to have its merit. Not bad. Nidorina XL. Personally, I still think I prefer having the return on my Nidorina because I only have the one with return, and I'm not building another one and putting Thunderbolt on it. But Thunderbolt absolutely has its merits. So if you're using one with Thunderbolt, it can beat the Celio and the Golbat. And because it's a poison type, it resists the fighting types, so it beats Vigoroth and it beats Machoke. But she loses pretty hard to something like Lairon, Hakamo, Zweilous. Those are the things that have the ability to just really dole out a lot of damage before the Poison Fangs can add up and you land that debuffed return or Thunderbolt. These specific, the dragons specifically, are without return. If you have return, I imagine these are probably different. This is with Thunderbolt, which is resisted by the 3 dragons. So I imagine that Nidorina could also beat the dragons if she lands the return. Piloswine is going to be a dark horse in this meta. Mark my words. This thing hits the meta almost unresisted in one way or another. Having the ice and ground coverage, it really doesn't have a lot of things that can just destroy it. You give Piloswine a shield or some energy, and that thing is going to be able to blow the pants off of anyone that's not named Vigoroth. And if you give it Stone Edge instead of Bulldoze, you got a solid shot at beating things like Celio as well. So it does lose to some of these steel types, though. Lairon only gets bent if it gets hit with a Bulldoze, so I don't know how much Lairon we're going to see, but it's definitely on my list of things to watch out for as a steel type. But Piloswine, if you have one built, we work on it. It's going to be out here. It's going to be good. And I'm not talking about Chansey. No, Jay, you can't make me do it. I know you're watching this video. I'm not going over Chansey for you. If you have a Chansey built, have fun. I don't even know if it's even going to be available because we don't know if this is considered a stage 1 Pokemon. I know that technically it evolves from Happiny and can evolve again, so it should be in the meta, but I really hope it's not. Just ban Chansey. I don't want to deal with Chansey. Haunter. Next, has Ice Punch and Shadow Ball in this meta. You could run an Ice Punch, Shadow Punch if you want to. Completely up to you. I like the moveset that it gets with Ice Punch being added. It allows it to counter even the dragons to a degree. In the ones, though, I think most of these dragons are going to be able to just mow through this thing's health bar before it can get to 2 Ice Punches, which is unfortunate. But you can take out things like Golbat. Celio also has to worry about it because its only nuke move is Water Pulse or Aurora Beam, which are really bad moves, and Body Slam is the only other move that Celio gets. So I imagine that the ghost damage from Haunter is going to vastly outdo anything that Celio is going to be able to put out. And then it also beats anything obvious like, you know, fighting type. It probably beats, no, Vigoroth is going to be able to, Vigoroth only wins if it lands the Bulldoze, that's for sure. So as long as you don't tank a Bulldoze, you could probably Ice Punch through the Vigoroth pretty easily. Vigoroth is pretty frail. So we've got the Alolan Golem. I'm skipping the list a little bit. It's all here though, folks. Don't worry about it. Alolan Graveler is only able to beat Vigoroth by the skin of its teeth if it gets a Rock Blast bait and lands a Stone Edge. Other than that, you're losing to Vigoroth, so don't even worry about that. And most of Graveler's entire damage kit comes from the Stone Edge, and getting that Rock Blast, it's nice, but Rock Blast, I mean, let's look at the meta, right? Like, what kind of targets does this really have, right? Like, most of this meta is not really going to be Golem friendly, unless you're seeing a lot of things like Charger Bug, Celio, you know, the poison types, you know, like Golbat and Nidorina, you know, Piloswine kind of, it really depends on if they're running the Bulldoze or not, but like, I don't know. I don't see Graveler as being something that has a ton of things to hit this meta with, but it definitely has its use. It's a very fast move, fast charging Pokemon with that Volt Switch, able to also flip the switch and go Rock Throw if you're seeing a lot of people running things like Golbat Celio Core. That would be kind of funny to Rock Throw that thing down. but it's very slow, and its only move set is basically electric fast moves with rock charge moves. It's very linear Pokemon, and it completely gets destroyed if it goes up against something like Marsh Stomp, which is right here. So Marsh Stomp, if you have one from way back in the day, before Swampert had Hydro Cannon, or in Sylph Cups where Swampert was banned, Marsh Stomp is not bad. Obviously is, once again, very linear in that it is a Swampert without Hydro Cannon. It gets Surf, and it gets Mud Bomb, and Sludge is not a move you want to run on this thing. Sludge is a very bad move, but it is low energy, and it does do poison damage, which has its merits, of course. But I would personally go for the Surf Mud Bomb move set with the Mud Shot. You could run Water Gun if you want, but I really wouldn't. And because of its spammy nature, it's going to be able to take care of a lot of things even on this page, like Golem, Magneton, Haunter probably, and Nidorina, just to name a few. It also probably deals with Charge Bug because it resists all the moves, I believe. So that's going to be worth noting if you have one built. Again, I'm not going to go out and build one for this cup, but if you have one, it's going to be interesting. Now, one thing that I want to put my attention to is Magneton, because Magneton is going to Core Break so many things. Core breaks a lot of the Dark Poison because it's going to be able to resist a lot of the moves, the fast moves, right? Wing Attack from Golbat, Dragon Breath from Zweilous, and it's going to be able to hit back every 10 turns it's got a move loaded, which is really fast. And this thing is going to be able to sweep with shields. It's going to be able to Core Break, and I definitely want y'all to keep an eye out for it because it's going to be good. I have a feeling it has to be good. Galarian Lanoon having Body Slam and Dig. We can check and see what the wins are for Magneton. If you have a Shadow, apparently that's the better one to run, but Magnet Bomb Discharge, look at this. It wins against some interesting things. It does lose to Zweilous, apparently. I imagine Zweilous probably either mows it down with Dragon Breath or gets a Dark Pulse off, or just... Magneton's super frail, so you got to keep shields on it, right? But as a person who's run Magneton in the past, if you have it with shields, you're good. Okay. So anyway, back to Galarian Lanoon. Very interesting. It's got Snarl Body Slam, which is a super spammy moveset that is also Stab. So you're going to get the same type of attack bonus from this moveset. Also can nuke something with Gunk Shot. So think of Obstagoon, but without counter. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's spice. If you have one from the recent Calm Day, maybe worth using it here. Doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. Completely hard walls the ghosts, so that's going to be nice. But it also really can't do damage back to the ghosts, so... play with that what you will. So one of the only two fairies in this format, Brionne, can learn Charm. So for those of you out there who like Charm and hate yourselves, this is the Pokemon for you. I think this is the only Charmer in the format. So it's going to be able to completely demolish the Darks, Dragons, and Fighters. And it itself is not going to be able to handle the poisons like Golbat. Vigoroth will absolutely be able to outpace it with those body slams and outdamage it. Celio also, because of the fact that Celio can get those body slams off, that means that it's not doing resisted damage like the Walrein would. So that's going to be able to allow it to take that matchup. And then Dusclops probably outbulks it. Chansey... so if you're looking for some easy charm usage, that's Brionne, but she is a bit expensive, so keep that on your mind if you're going to build one. Primplup was something that you might have had built from the Sinnoh Cup or the Hisui Cup. It's an Icy Wind user, which makes it really good as a safe swap. Has Bubble for a fast move, and Hydro Pump if you just want to nuke something. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Page number 3. This is the last page of this meta before we talk about cores, but I just want to bring about some of the more spicy and slightly toxic because I have to talk about it. I can't just not talk about the Razor Leafers because there's so many, and there's so many different things that you could do with these Razor Leafers. As in run Razor Leaf and something else that beats the things that beat Razor Leaf. But you get my point. You know, you have to basically talk about these things because if you don't, I'm not doing y'all justice enough, right? But Poliwhirl is an XL Pokemon. Some of you may have one built. Poliwhirl has Mud Shot, Scald, and Mud Bomb. Now, Scald is an elite TMable move, and if this is a Shadow, but just showing you the moveset. But it doesn't have a fighting move like its big brother Poliwrath. And it doesn't have a nuke move like Politoed does, but having Mud Bomb and Scald, it's a very, very fast move set, and it does get Scald from Poliwrath. So having the Mud Bomb, though, is really nice against something like the thing next to it, Lairon, or other Pokemon like you're going to see maybe like those Nidorinas. Just water ground coverage is really nice to have, especially when you're comparing it to something like Marshtomp. Neither is really, I mean, Marshtomp is definitely more accessible than Poliwrath or Poliwhirl, but I mean, Poliwhirl's spice. If you want to build it, you want to run it, go for it. But now we have like this section where it's all the grass users, all the Razor Leafers, all the Vine Whips, and all the leafy looking things. So Bayleaf, Grotle, Weepinbell. You three are Razor Leafers. Bayleaf is one of the bulkiest Razor Leafers, if not the bulkiest Razor Leafer in the Great League, so sure, go ahead. Weepinbell is the little cousin to the Victory Bell, and Grotle is just there because people are going to have it built from way back in the day. I've seen it, and I know y'all have it, so there's your Razor Leafers. I don't need to talk about Razor Leaf. I don't even care. You just get to know that they have Razor Leaf. That's all you get. Ivysaur and Quilladin, however, those are the ones that I like to talk about. If you want to play a skillful grass hole, these are the ones you want to use because they have Vine Whip and they have charge moves and they have things that are actually going to be usable in the game. So let's talk about Quilladin with Body Slam and Energy Ball. You could run Gyro Ball if you wanted to, but I probably wouldn't. It's a bad move. Gives it the grass fast move to farm down any waters. Allows you to hit with the Energy Ball for the stab grass move, but also Body Slam is an excellent kind of, you know, bait move to have because that's going to allow you to do just regular neutral damage, but also bait in case you need to. I mean, there it is. But sort of a similar story for Ivysaur, which has Vine Whip. It gets Power Whip, Sludge Bomb. So it's like that's a lot like a solar version of Venusaur, right? Sludge Bomb and Power Whip, I think, are about the same energy cost, and you just don't have Frenzy Plant, right? So it's still good. And Ivysaur is pretty bulky, to be honest. It's not it's no slouch. So talking about Vine Whip, right? Floette is like way down here somewhere. Where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. I passed it. Floette number 28. XL Floette. Has Vine Whip, Psychic, and Dazzling Gleam. And in a meta with very few steals, this thing actually might be really good. It has Vine Whip, so it has a good energy generating fast move. It's like a mini Florges, right? It literally has the same move set, similar bulk, and you can use it as an XL, but you don't have to, right? Like it says right here, 0, 14, 15 is your level 47, but you don't have to. It's recommended, but you don't have to. But again, this is something like, this is the kind of stuff that you play if you've already got it built, right? If you don't have it built, then don't, because it's just, unless you have like 40 million dust laying around, and I know some of you do, I've seen it. Go for it if you want, but I'm not. I don't have the kind of dust. But Floette looks like a very interesting option, especially if you're seeing a lot of dragons, a lot of fighters, you know, a lot of things that are weak to Vine Whip, which makes it really useful. Floette's, it's a solid option. I'm not talking about Swadloon because no one's going to use it and it's horrible. Fracture, though, coming in as a Dragon Tail user with, I think it has Night Slash, Dragon Claw. Yeah. So this thing has a very consistent quick moveset, just like Druddigon. It's the same moveset as Druddigon. It's really not that bulky, though, so don't get too carried away with it. But it does have a huge attack stat, and it could definitely just slap through something with those Dragon Tails. So if it catches the right Pokemon, it could farm it down, come out with like 2 moves loaded, and unload those and get shields, you know, things like that. Plus Dragon and Dark coverage is kind of nice. Obviously RPS against whatever fairies you find, though. So last thing on this list, I was trying to find something, and what better than Porygon 2, right? So no, the wins aren't going to be great, but it can beat the pants off of some things that you wouldn't expect. Land a Zap Cannon on Celio and see how they feel after that. You could also try and land a Zap Cannon on Golbat. Now, obviously, if the Pokemon resists electric damage, they have Porygon 2 has a much lower chance of winning. This thing has a lot less bulk in the Great League than it does in the Ultra League, which is where I tend to run it. But it has its merit. Tri-attacks, if they add up, they flip matchups all by themselves. So if you have one built or you have one ready to go, I mean, go for it. It's fun. Porygon 2 is so much fun. So let's talk about some of the cores you might see in this meta or what you can prepare for. So we've got the Grass Hole right up on top there. I've just threw them up there. You could sub any of the grasses on this list for either of the two in the back, and Lairon is the closest thing that I can think of to Bastiodon, even though it's really not Bastiodon, but has Body Slam and Rock Slide. I think I forgot to talk about Lairon, actually, but Lairon has Body Slam and Rock Slide, but it has Metal Claw, so like Metal Claw is a really bad fast move, and its other option is Iron Tail, so you're really not getting much out of it in the fast move department, but having Rock Slide Body Slam is a really interesting moveset to do a variety of damage to a lot of different things. And then you've got your two grass Pokemon in the back that have the fighting resistance because of their poison subtyping. Those are the kinds you'd probably be better off going with. Next core I want to talk about is the Machoke Charger Bug core. This is really like a core breaky kind of core, right? You have something that has a linear moveset, and then you have something in the back that can really beat the things that, you know, might give the Machoke trouble. So something like Golbat, or, you know, some of the grass poisons, which I know Charger Bug isn't going to be like the best answer to grass poison like the Weeping Bell, but its bug typing allows it to resist those Razor Leafs or other grass moves, and it also is going to allow it to, you know, because it has Spark, and X-Scissor is going to allow it to do some decent move damage back to those Pokemon. So, I mean, I feel like this is not like, it's not going to be a super meta core, it's more of a spicier one, but if you want to run Charger Bug, Machoke is a really excellent thing to pair it with. There's only a few things that really break apart that core, and they're really not that common. The next one is going to be Nidorina Zweilous. I mean, it's really just Dark Poison core. Everybody's very familiar with Dark Poison core. You could put any Dark and any Poison type together, and they form a nice core. Really about it. Nidorina and Golbat are really good poison types though in this meta because they both have Poison Fang and they both can get there very quickly. So, you know, Poison Sting on Nidorina gets you to a Poison Fang in like 4 moves, and then you have your Golbat getting there in like 5 wing attacks. So Zweilous is just super solid, and it's just, yeah. The last one we're going to talk about here is Hakamo and Magneton. Hakamo and Magneton is basically going to be the Hakamo is weak to fairies and flyers. Magneton covers fairies and flyers easily. Also covers the ice types because Celio just can't handle Magneton, dude. So they cover each other very well. Very few things are going to get through that core, and the only things that do are going to be things like, you know, a Vigoroth with an energy advantage, or, you know, something like that just, you know, obviously would come across as being able to take care of most things. But guys, that's going to mostly do it for this video here. Just real quick plug at the end. Thank you so much for watching, by the way. Subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to in this Evolution Cup, and like it if you haven't. But I do offer coaching on Metafy. I'm still doing that, and I probably won't be stopping anytime soon until somebody tells me I have to, or I retire from this game, whichever comes first. But if you're interested in improving your game at Pokemon Go PvP, whether it be Sylph or Go Battle League, or just in general, check out the Metafy link in the description. And if you're looking to join a community where you can just actively get benefits as well as getting better with other people, have an awesome group in the Patreon Discord that I run. The link to that is also in the description if you'd like to join to get access to my teams, my tips, my meta-analysis, everything earlier than it comes out on YouTube, and tons of other little perks that go along with that as well. Just check it out. And that's going to do it for me, guys. So thank you so much, and I'm going to catch you in the next video. I would tell Maggie to say bye, but she's sleeping. I'm sorry. But she says bye too. Bye.